All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming, and today's lecture, video, whatever you want to call it, is going to be a little different because rather than writing a lot of programs or writing the same program and modifying it, etc., we're going to talk about debugging. All right? And debugging is really it's finding errors in your code and fixing them. All right? Now, there's three basic kinds of errors that you can run into. All right, just so you see this. So first, there's syntax errors. And those are errors in the rules of the language, for lack of better words. Okay, and let's just look at a real simple example because really the compiler finds these errors for you. So if I come in here, and I'm just going to come in, again, this isn't a program that's designed to teach you a whole lot, just so you know. In that it's not being written to do a BMI or anything like that, but I'm going to put a button here. All right, so I'll put a button right here. Okay, so there's a button. Now, you know this because we've gone over this more than once. So I'm going to come through here and I'm just going to call this button, as I kind of have been doing, I'm going to call it BTN calculate. All right, and here we will put calculate. All right, and let's put in, like I said, I'm trying to keep this simple. So I'm going to put in a couple labels here. Let's put in the first one. Let's set the auto size to false. All right. We'll leave it like that. In fact, let's change the background color so this is a little easier for all of you to see. All right, we'll make this a shade darker. All right, now I'm going to copy this. All right, so now I've got two labels, and I'm going to put in two text boxes. Now you might say, well, what are you doing all this stuff for? Well, this is going to give me the chance to show you two of the three kinds of errors. And actually, really all three of them. So let's highlight all this as we have been doing. Let's make this Arial, bold, and 18 point. All right, and this will be fine in just a second, but here we're going to call this BTN number 1. And we'll put in here input number 1. All right. Guess I need to make this a little wider. That'll work. All right. Now in here, I'm going to put in input number 2. All right. And since that one was BTN number 1, this will be BTN number 2. All right. That all looks fine and dandy. And let's make this TXT number 1. And we'll make this TXT number 2. All right, and move this down. I'm going to copy these two, put them right below. Come on. And this is going to be LBL answer. And this will say just answer. All right, and this will be txt answer. All right, two more things, and then we'll quickly start to demonstrate. All right, so I'm going to text align these to center. I'm going to text align these to center. All right, this one is already fine. It looks about centered. Let's lock this, and now let's write a little bit of code, okay? Now, you know probably what I'm going to do already, or hopefully you do, okay? And what I mean is this. I'm going to come in here to my BTN calculate, and I'm going to say, let's just call, we'll call this find the quotient. Okay, getting an error because we don't have anything called find the quotient. All right, so I'm going to say int number1 equals txt number1 dot text. We'll worry a little bit about actually putting in some error checking. For now, we're not going to do that. Int number2 equals, why didn't I like that one? Oh, I'm going to have to parse it. We will say int.parse. I think that I in int has to be lowercase. Okay. Whoops, didn't put a 2 there. Okay. Well, I already see a few things that I should have changed on this, so I'm going to go back and do that. What do I mean? Well, first of all, there was no reason for this. This should have been a label. So we'll get rid of that. And I'm going to unlock this. Okay, we will call this LBL answer. We already have one called LBL answer. So let's leave that off. Let's change this one to LBL answer heading, which is a stupid name, but it's fine. And this will just be LBL answer. Okay, we don't want any text in there. All right, let's lock this again, or see if it has to be locked. Okay, now let's run this. So we got find the quotient. So this is now LBL answer.text. All right, very, very extremely simple program here. So if I run this and I come in here, whoops, we still have our BMI program on there. This is debugging app, so we want to set that as our startup project. We can do the typical stuff in that I can set the default location. I can set it to center screen. Now that I think about this, let me unlock this. We can make a clear button here. This might help us later. This is calculate. So this is the ampersand will go before the C. This is clear. So we'll put in C ampersand LEAR. And this is exit. E ampersand XIT. And it'll be BTN exit. All right. All right, we locked it. We want to clear, 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 and put the focus. So again, we'll do our clear all fields. And we'll put so that should be done. And what do we have left? Our exit. Let's go to our third iteration here of our BMI app. Just going to grab that exit program or not. Let's close this right away. And this. Bring this up. All right, should be totally working now. Again, I don't need all this. So, file, save all. Let's run it and see if it does work. All right, so I'll come in here. I'll put that in just a second. Let's try like 37 and 8. All right. Okay, right now, I think we made this an int. So it's truncating any decimal place. That's okay. We'll fix that in a moment. Calculate, whoops. We'll make calculate our accept button. We'll make clear our cancel button. All right, so we got that done. And what did we put here for calculate? We called it right here, double quotient. Okay, allows me a chance to explain something to you. What happens is C# does the math on the right-hand side of the equal sign, then puts the answer on the left-hand side of the equal sign. Since I'm dividing an integer by an integer, it throws away anything that's not integer. How do I fix that? Many ways of doing it. I could have made these doubles, but maybe the easiest way to do it is to take one or both of these and do what's called cast them. Okay, I'll cast them both. You don't have to, but now notice if I run this again, and I put in 37 and 8 like I did before, now I get the decimal place, the decimal portion. Okay, and let me come in here to the form load, and I'm going to put txt number1 dot select. There, that should fix. Hopefully everything is done now. Now, You've seen all this. It works. But what if I just come in and very simply do this? So I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to put in here txt number.focus. Okay? All right, and I'm going to do a file, save all, and I'm going to click start. I've mentioned this before, but if you get this here, if it comes up and it says, there were build errors, would you like to continue? Literally, I think 100 times out of 100, you're going to say no. Now, this is a syntax error. The system is looking for something called txt number, and it does not find it. So it gives a syntax error that says the name txt number does not exist in this context. I can double click on the error, and it takes me right there. All right, that's an example. Now, I fixed it, but let's say that I never put in the semicolon. There's another error. It says semicolon expected, and if I double click on it, it even shows me right where that is. And notice the IntelliSense says semicolon expected, show potential fixes. All right, that's not really what I want, but I can just add that. So typically, when you get a syntax error, an error in the rules of the language, when you go to compile the program, and compilation is the act of trying to take something that is basically in English, like we see, and convert it into the zeros and ones that the computer understands. So that's the first thing, okay? All right, I wrote this program like this on purpose to be able to show you the second kind of error. So I'm going to put in here 45 and 0, and I'm going to click calculate. And I'm not sure what it's doing. Oh, it gave me infinity. All right, it used to be when you did that, you'd get what's called a runtime error. All right, and what a runtime error meant was that an exception had occurred. Now, an exception in programming language isn't like an exception in most facets of life. For instance, I got 2 grandchildren, an 8-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy. Let's say that I'm taking the 2-year-old boy for a walk, and I'm pushing him in his stroller down the street. And somebody comes up and looks at him and says, wow, what an exceptional child. I'll probably say thank you. On the other hand, an exception in programming is not a good thing. Let me I'll make one in here right now. In fact, we'll do it the easiest way. I'm going to put in here, I'm going to leave that blank, and I'll put in here 34, and I'll click calculate. There is an exception. It's a format exception. One of the reasons we need that system class is this is system.format exception. Notice input string was not in the correct format. All right, so really when you have the second kind of error, which again is referred to as a runtime those are not found until you run the program. Okay? The third type are logic errors. And this is my opinion. These are the hardest to find. Now, I'm going to give you a real simple example of a logic error. All right? But there are much, 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 much more complex ones that we can do. All right? So let's say that we're just really not paying attention. All right? So we have come in here. I think the program is still running, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, yeah, because we still have that error. All right. So let's stop the run. And let's say that instead of a divide sign, we accidentally put in there a times sign. All right. So I go and run the program, and I put in really simple things to make sure it's working. So I put in 4 and I put in 2 because everybody knows 4 divided by 2 is 2. But it comes out 8. What's wrong? Well, one thing that I can do is to try to find out is I can come in and set what's called a breakpoint. A breakpoint shows in your code where the debugger pauses execution. It stops so you can inspect the value of a variable. Now, there's 2 easy ways to set a breakpoint. And you might think, well, set one right here. No, I want to set it after this because when you set a breakpoint, it stops on that line of code, so it hasn't run yet. So I'm going to put a breakpoint right here. There's 2 ways I can do it. I can highlight, be anywhere in the line, and I think it's the F9 function key. No, well, okay, that is correct, but since I'm using, it didn't stop it. Since I'm taping this, it's not going to work. But the other way is to come over to here. This is called the gutter area, this gray thing in here. And if I click here, it makes this little cyan thing. And it shows you that it's going to stop right there. So let me run the program again. And put in, like I did before, 4 and 2, and click calculate. So notice now, I can go back up here and I can say, okay, number 1 was 4 like I thought it was. Number 2 was 2 like I thought it was. And the answer is 8. Well, again, this is such a simple example, you wouldn't need to do it here. But what breakpoints can do is they can save you a lot of time and effort. All right, once the breakpoint is set, when you run your program and it stops, like you can see right here, you are in what's called debug mode. There's really 3 modes that you can be in a program. All right, just to show you. Right here, this is design mode. Program's not running. All right, I can come here, and again, let's put in something valid. So we'll just put in, 3 and 3, and again, it's 9. All right, and I can check that. So 3 and 3, and it's 9. Okay, that's all fine. All right, but if I tell it to continue right now, so right now, I'm in debug mode. But if I tell it to continue, now I'm in run mode. The program's running. All right, so those are the 3 different modes that you can be in. All right, so that's, when you run code in debug mode, again, the execution pauses at the line where the breakpoint is set. And the key thing about that is then you can go in and inspect those values. All right, now I may have shown you this before, I don't recall, but I'm going to show you it now. These are the different things, all right, that you can put in so you can see some of these toolbar things. What we are concerned with right now, and I'm going to draw on this but not save it, but what we're concerned with right now is this stuff right here. This is the debug stuff. All right, we'll look at all of it in just a moment. All right, we'll look at all of it, but I just want you to understand that. Now, with some of the stuff on here, there's more, really with most of it, there's more than one way of doing it. Now, continue just means that if you were in debug mode but you want the program to continue, you can click that button. We'll talk hot reload in a moment, okay? But there's a few things in here that I do want to mention, these 3 that are in here. There's step into, then there's step over, and then there's step out. Step into that you see, the first one there, if the line of code that you're on calls a function, this will step into the function and allow you to debug it line by line. All right, so you'll keep clicking step into and it'll basically allow you to go line by line. Step over executes the current line of code and automatically moves to whatever the next line is. Finally, step out, you'll typically use that. Let's say that I was in a function and I was printing out all the numbers from 1 to 100. I wouldn't do that, but let's say I did. And for some reason, I put a breakpoint inside where it was going to print those out. Well, it's going to stop 100 times. I don't want that. So with step out, if you're inside of a function, it'll execute the rest of the function and return back to whatever code called it. So this allows you to navigate through your code to see exactly what is executing. And what this does is it helps you understand program flow. Plus, if something has gone wrong, all right, it'll basically show you or allow you to find out what went wrong. All right. Now, let's talk a little bit about a few more things that are in here and that you can do while you're debugging a program. You can do what's called inspect your variables. All right. Inspecting variables allows you to see if your variables are being set correctly. Now, there's a real simple way of doing that. All right. Let's pretend for just a second here that this program wasn't working at all. All right, let's just pretend that the program wasn't working at all. I'm going to, for now at least, I'm going to remove that. So you click on it to set it. You click on it again to remove it. Not only that, once it's set, you can right mouse click and tell it to disable it. So you see now it's still cyan, but it's not colored in, meaning that it will not stop there. But I could come in here and I could say, how about message box dot show, and I'm gonna put a whole bunch of stuff in here so you see it. The value of number 1 is, and we'll put in here plus. I'm gonna just keep putting it on multiple lines so you can see what I'm typing in. Number 1 dot toString. Plus, and we'll put on a new line, which is \n, and then number 2 dot string plus. So I want to say here, let's see, the value of number 2 is, okay, again, plus. Don't worry, this will all be fixed up in just a second. Finally, I'm going to say the answer is and I'll put in here, comma, printing program, whoops, put it in double quotes, printing program values. We'll put in another comma here. That's quotient, not answer. All right, and I'll put in here, we want buttons. We'll just have .ok. And we'll have, for the icon, we'll have information, just like that. All right. All right, now it's not liking something. Message, it's message box.show. There. So if I run this again, let me save this. And before I put in 37 and 8, and it says the value of number 1 is 37, the value of number 2 is 8, the answer is 296. Again, we're doing it wrong. We went to divide and we're multiplying. All right, so rather than saying the answer is, we'll say the quotient is. But either way, the idea is I'm inspecting the variables. All right. Now, that's all fine, dandy, works just fine. All right, and what I've shown you so far in this first half hour has been pretty much the easy way of doing things. You may not agree with that, but it really and truly has been fairly simple. Let me change that back to divide. All right, so when I come back and save this, and now I do my 37 and my 8, I get in my inspection, and in here you can tell everything's cool. Okay? All right, now that's a good start. All right, but I want to talk to you about some advanced debugging techniques. All right, let's come back and we'll do a second part of this and we'll pick it up there. For now, I think I've shown you this and what's going on here. So I want to show you something maybe I did before, but it's kind of cool. I'm going to highlight all of this and I'm going to come over to here, way over towards the end, about 4 or 5 from the end. It says comment out entire code. Now it's all commented out. If I click the one next to it, it uncomments it. Okay? But it's a fast way to comment multiple lines of code in a hurry. Okay, so let me save this. And we'll come back and take a look at our next. Continue on the debugging trail in just a moment.